Romit, you were one of the most bullish analysts on the street on Tesla, and I know you've changed your tune, but I'm just wondering how much Elon Musk was a part of that bull thesis.
He was a big part of it, and I was on the show a couple of weeks ago saying that we didn't think the company was investable anymore, and it really tied around his erratic behavior over the last few months. I think he's everything, and if Elon has to step down or leave the company, I don't think that they can survive on a standalone basis.
So your price target of $300 assumes he stays?
I think the stock's going to be very volatile until this gets resolved, but ultimately I do think he stays.
Rebecca, in terms of some of the threats to the company, a lot of people raise the question of whether it's harder to raise capital whilst you're facing, or your CEO is facing an SEC investigation. How serious a concern is that?
Well, it's a very serious concern because the company needs capital. Automotive production is an incredibly capital-intensive endeavor. And so, I think it's one of those things where I would have loved to have seen him take the settlement because it would have been done. And we would have at least had some certainty in terms of what the situation is. Right now, everything is in flux. Nobody knows what's happening. You can't raise capital if you're under SEC investigation. So it just presents so many more levels of uncertainty and volatility. And so that's a big problem for this company right now.
Rebecca, you named a lot of the uncertainties. Obviously, there's often been some uncertainties about the capital structure, about their ability to produce enough vehicles. But one thing that most people haven't questioned is the depth of demand or the real interest among customers in these cars. Do we have to start doubting that right now? What's your sense?
Well, I think it's something that is definitely a concern because, as we've been talking about, Elon Musk is a big part of that appeal. But as one of the people at the dealership mentioned, if you're not sure if this company is going to continue, then investing in it or buying a vehicle means, are you going to be able to get service for that? What is the residual value on that vehicle from a Kelley Blue Book perspective? Everything kind of changes if we think about this company going away and not being able to raise capital, going bankrupt. So it really, again, opens up a whole new level of uncertainty from a buyer standpoint, also from an employee standpoint. Do you want to go to work for a company that is under these kinds of investigations? Elon Musk, again, is a big appeal for employees wanting to go to work for them. So all these things come into play.
Romit, we get some production numbers pretty soon next week. You've recently visited one of the factories.
Yeah.
What was your take on that? And even if the numbers come out and they're way better than expected, does that matter whilst there's this SEC overhang?
Probably not, but I was at the Fremont factory on Tuesday, and I got to tell you, Wilfred, a year ago, they made 200 Model 3s in the third quarter. We watched them from beginning to end make a Model 3 every 20 minutes. So the production issues that they've had are clearly behind them. And by the way, connected to the Fremont factory is the delivery center, and it was packed with people who were, literally dressed like they were going to a wedding, taking pictures. This company has done an incredible job with their product, creating so much excitement and enthusiasm for the car. It's really kind of a shame that all of that is getting overshadowed by the scandal. I do think the results on Tuesday are going to be pretty positive.
Evan?
Let me ask, what specifically, if you had to say, this is what Elon Musk does for the company? I understand the strategy, I understand he's the face of the company, but in terms of the specific engineering, the specific models, does he have people around him who are good enough now to basically carry, a la Steve Jobs passed away, Apple kind of didn't really miss a beat? What is it specifically about what he does on the day-to-day engineering front that makes it more problematic if he leaves?
He's in charge of the product groups, he's in charge of strategy, he's in charge of design. They probably have enough in their product portfolio today to go from $20 billion in revenues to $50 billion in revenues. But people who own this company for the long term need to see Tesla figure out mobility as a service, a business that's going to compete with Uber and Lyft. They need to figure out energy storage. They need to figure out where their next manufacturing facilities
are. But there's nobody, what you're saying is there's nobody around him that can step into, say, the design and the engineering function or the marketing function that can carry whatever load that he's carrying right now? Is he really that integral to all these processes?
I think he's integral. That's not to say that there aren't qualified people there that can run the day-to-day operations. But if this is a company that's going to go from $20 billion in revenue to $100 billion in revenue, there's a lot that has to be figured out, and I think he's the best person to do that.